gamers, Damon here. So I was just casually rewatching the entire Cars franchise. Yes, this is how I spend my free time. What do you think I am? Employed? And after my yearly hate watch of Cars 2, I came up with a funny TikTok.
Hey, what you got here that's free? How about that pistachio ice cream?
And it kind of went viral. The big leagues were calling. But when I read the comments, I came to the realization that, wait, people actually like Cars 2 now? Yes. That Cars 2, regarded as one of Pixar's worst movies and kickstarted their losing streak in the 2010s. That Cars 2! And this isn't even that shocking to me, because over the past few years, I've been seeing an influx of people suddenly changing up on Cars 2 and saying it was actually good the whole time. And this has left me confused as hell, because I grew up with this movie. I love Cars. Don't believe me? Well, you do now. I'm the same age as the people that are now glazing this movie nowadays, but yet I haven't turned to the cult. So now, not only have I finally put into words why I don't like Cars 2, but I think I figured out why some people are actually changing up on this movie now, and why it's kind of stupid. Before we go into why Cars 2 is actually not good, it's kind of important to understand why people even like it now in the first place. Which, if you do like Cars 2, that's completely fine, and I honestly see where you're coming from. This movie is kind of a guilty pleasure for me. It's in the same league as movies like Shark Tale, where it's bad in its own special way, and it's so bad it's good. And I can't help but watch it every time it's on. But let's not kid ourselves here. The main reason why people like it now is because of nostalgia. Don't lie! It is. This film was unanimously hated when it first came out, so why is it that now suddenly when those kids that first watched it are now adults is when people are starting to say that Cars 2 was good? Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. But I will not fall victim to this revisionist history. But to give credit where credit is due, Cars 2 does actually have some good things about it. Because it's not the worst movie ever made. It's like a solid 3 to 4 out of 10. First of all, the music is fantastic. The score by Michael Giacchino is genuinely great and goes hard as fuck. Yo, yo, yo! And even the soundtrack is good too. Nothing as good as Venom by Eminem, but hey, they got Weezer. The animation is also great as usual for Pixar. Kind of goes without saying. And something that goes for all 3 Cars movies is that the sound design is top notch. I don't know, man. I love hearing the sounds of the cars go. And the few bits of racing scenes that we do get in this movie are genuinely well done. Hell, the extended deleted scene of the Tokyo race is probably the best scene that this movie's produced. And I will admit, there is some creativity on how they implemented the weapons and spy gadgets on the cars. And of course, I can't go without mentioning the best character ever made ever, Francesco Bernoulli. He's my Italian idol. I feel so represented as the most charismatic character in the movie. Because if there's one thing I can say about Cars 2, is that it's not boring. But none of this is enough to change the fact that this movie is still fundamentally flawed. So let's go into why this movie frustrates me so much. The most obvious and fundamental flaw of Cars 2 is that it's a terrible sequel to the original Cars. And yes, I am going to be glazing this first movie a lot. You guys can glaze Cars 2 as much as you want, but when I do it, it's a problem. The original Cars was a down-to-earth story about a cocky race car being stranded in a small town and learning how there's more to life than just winning, and that the real Piston Cup was the friends he made along the way. He gets to interact and grow a bond with many of the town's residents, like Larry the Cable Guy tow truck.
I don't look nothing like no damn tow truck.
And gains a mentor with Doc Hudson. It's a slow, character-focused story that serves as a love letter to racing and Americana. So what would you imagine a sequel to that movie to be about? Another grounded racing story exploring McQueen's further growth as a racer and the new challenges he'd face in his career? Cars 2 is instead a spy thriller where the main character isn't even Lightning McQueen and instead the Larry the Cable Guy tow truck. Because making the comic relief character the main character in a sequel is a perfect idea! The premise of Cars 2 is just downright bizarre. I do get how some are drawn to this, and that's why some people like it, But turning a racing movie into a spy movie doesn't really work for a lot of reasons. And I would be more open to the direction of this movie if it didn't waste so much potential of a more traditional Cars sequel. There are some interesting ideas present in Cars 2, and all of it is in regards to the racing stuff, which unfortunately is relegated to the side plot. And I'd argue should have been the focus. The World Grand Prix being a giant racing tournament including different types of racers from around the world to find out who's the best racer is such a great idea! As the second installment of a trilogy, this is where Lightning McQueen should be in his prime, and it's implied to be in his prime with how he's actually able to keep up with Indy cars, a feat that should not be possible, but whatever. But that's not the focus of this movie, so this plotline is wasted and not well explored at all, and will probably never be revisited again. It hurts because the pieces for it are right there. There's a scene in the beginning of the movie where Doc has passed away after the first movie, following the death of his voice actor Paul Newman. However, this is never brought up after this quick scene, and I think it could have served as a great conflict for the story. If you removed all the spy stuff from this movie and had the main plot about Lightning McQueen entering this racing competition in his prime, yet dealing with the loss of his closest mentor, that could have been really interesting. I'm not a screenwriter, but doesn't that sound a bit more interesting than the movie that we got? This could have helped us expand on the other races, for example. Francesco, one of the best parts of the movie, could have been a more developed character and rival for McQueen. We could have gotten more racing scenes. And hell, you could still have Mater be a big role in this movie that isn't that far off from what we see in the movie. He's seen as a part of McQueen's pit crew for the race. Maybe you could have him step up and fill the role Doc left since his passing, and try to help his friend in the best way he can, and have some conflict derived from that. Doesn't that sound like a better movie? Am I taking crazy pills? But in the Cars 2 that we get none of that. The racing stuff is only here to service the spy plot, as it directly links to the villain's plot, which I'd argue isn't even that good in the first place. Mater does get a bigger role in the film, but as the main character. And the racing stuff is just never focused on. McQueen does have conflict with Mater, but it's derived from Mater's spy shenanigans. Because we gotta have funny scenes of Mater being a spy! Cars 2 just doesn't work as a sequel to the original and wastes all the potential that the trilogy has. And I'd argue that if this movie was good, maybe this franchise would be more respected by general audiences, and not just a cash cow made for toys, which, let's be honest, it is. At least Cars 3 actually took note of this and returned to the more grounded story of the first film. Sure, I don't love Cars 3, I kind of find it boring and not really funny, but it's still a good movie, and does a lot of what I suggested Cars 2 should have done with exploring the loss of Doc Hudson. However, nobody talks about Cars 3 because their goat is washed and we didn't have any time to relish in McQueen being in his prime, which is all Cars 2's fault, by the way, not even Cars 3's. If Cars 2 was a more traditional sequel to Cars, not only would it have been a potentially better film, but it would have made the series better as a result, but you guys aren't ready for that conversation. But even at that, I could still picture myself enjoying Cars 2 with its batshit insanity if it wasn't for the fact that the plot, writing, and characters are just stupid and bad. Mater is not a good protagonist. I really like him in the first Cars. He's actually funny and not too annoying. He's a little dumb, but his heart's in the right place.
When in the hell did they start making school buses that long?
And hell, he can work as a protagonist in batshit silly stories because Mater's Tall Tales exists. And if you know me, you know I love Mater's Tall Tales. But here's the difference. Mater's Tall Tales are shorts. Cars 2 is a feature-length film. And here, Mater gets annoying very fast.
Like a good neighbor, Mater.
Shut the fuck up.
He isn't charming. His stupidity is amped up to 11 to where it's almost out of character. Like, when he pretends to be McQueen's Mater.
Huh?
Mater the waiter. That's funny right there. Like when Mater pretends to be McQueen's waiter on his date with Sally when he specifically told him not to after already spending the whole day with him. Like, that's fucked up. But we have to have Mater in the dinner scene because funny. And because we have to kickstart the plot. In the Tokyo party, he actively engages with Francesco and doesn't listen to McQueen, who's reasonably asking him to chill out. And then the peak wasabi scenes happen, but I can't even hate on that scene because that scene is funny as shit. But he's still out of line for making a giant scene in front of everyone.
Do not eat the free pussy.
But we have to have that scene because he has to go to the bathroom because funny. So we can kickstart the plot. Are you sensing a pattern here? The film tries to explore Mater deeper as a character and kind of falls flat on its face. After he leaves McQueen, he gets taken to the spy plot and helps them uncover the conspiracy where he's occasionally helpful for them. Now, this could have actually worked if they had Mater actually struggle to feel helpful to others after the fallout from McQueen, only to then feel helpful with the spies, but the film doesn't really explore that, and when he's not helping them, he's getting into silly antics because funny! Instead, we get the iconic scene where Mater realizes where he's an idiot. Yes, this is where real men cried. And this is the film's attempt of exploring Mater as a character. Half these scenes were meant to be comedic at first, and now we're meant to feel bad for him? Huh? That's emotional manipulation. Like, I'm sorry, but Mater was like 100% in the wrong for his behavior in these scenes. So this scene kind of comes across as desperate, and kind of confusing, and ironically funny as hell. And at the end of the movie, they take a full 180, and instead of having Mater mature in any capacity, has McQueen just tell him that it's okay to be himself and that others need to change.
Be yourself here. If people aren't taking you seriously, then they need to change.
What? That's not a very good message to kids. That it's okay to act like a jackass as long as you're being yourself? His character arc has been so confusing because I don't know whether the film wants me to take him seriously or not. And when Mater goes to expose the main villain at the end of the movie,
It's you!
they treat it as some sort of triumphant, badass moment. But it just doesn't work. Because right after this, he's played for laughs, acting like an idiot. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Mater's just not a good protagonist. At all. And making Mater the actual main character was a very bad decision that wasn't even executed well to begin with. But would you believe me if I said that Mater wasn't even the most annoying and stupid character in the movie?
So Mater, average intelligence.
Let's take a look at Lightning McQueen because he's not that much of a character in here. Because he's pretty dumb. He has nothing going on for him in this movie till the first race, where he misinterprets Mater talking to his e-girl and moves to the outside, which causes him to lose the race. Where he then gets into a reasonable crash out with Mater. Like McQueen, my goat, I love you, but what the fuck is wrong with you? You should have known better than to make a stupid move like that during a race. I know this is just a nitpick, but come on, isn't this supposed to be prime McQueen? 7-time Piston Cup champion, my ass. But whatever, then Mater leaves and he actually feels bad. But then he gets a talking to and he's all like, wow, I shouldn't have yelled at him like that. Damn, I miss him. Pull off your skin. And then he has the 180 I mentioned earlier, where Mater's completely in the right all of a sudden and everybody else is the problem. And then we get the infamous I'm the bomb sequence. And let me break it down for you guys, because it is truly the best showcase of the film's impeccable writing. So McQueen pulls up to see Mater after so long, excited and unaware of the danger of his situation. Mater pulls away to save him, while McQueen follows him in an attempt at an emotional reconciliation. In the process, they exchange some amazing dialogue.
I know I made you feel that way before, but none of that matters, because we're best friends!
Nah, bro, get that shit out of here.
What's wrong with you? Okay.
And then Mater says,
I'm the bomb!
This is a subtle reference to the fact that he actually has a bomb strapped to his hood, hence why he's running away from McQueen. In response, McQueen says,
Yes, Mater, you are the bomb!
and this is ironic because in this context, he means bomb as a complimentary term, while Mater means the term bomb literally. This is a subtle reference to the fact that the writing in this movie is ass. Animation is cinema! So yeah, Lightning McGroomer is kind of bad in this film. Oh well, but I will admit, it is kind of funny in the third act where he's involved with the spy story and everybody's saying how much they need to kill Lightning McQueen.
Queen, they're gonna kill you!
Lightning McQueen must be killed.
Instead of saying ka-chow, he's gonna go kaboom.
I don't know why it's kind of hilarious. Bro was not built for this. Which, off topic, How is this movie rated G? This movie has a surprisingly high kill count and a lot of violence, yet is rated for all audiences. But it's okay because everybody's a car. Like, what's the dealio? Yeah, well, too bad that the spy plotline sucks ass. If Pixar wanted to make a spy movie so bad, they should have just made a whole separate spy movie. Because I think actively shoehorning it into a Cars movie actually made it worse. And at the very least, should have just been a Mater's Tall Tale. But no! We just had to tell the amazing story of Finn McMissile and Holly Shiftwell. Two of the biggest dumbasses in the Pixar universe. Mainly Finn though. Holly's such a bad bitch though. How does Mater get more play than me?
Look out, ladies. Mater's finna get funky.
Yeah, he's gonna get funky, alright.
But these two characters single-handedly are the main reason why I find this film so frustrating. Because they're actually so stupid it's not even funny. Mater tells them multiple times that he is not a spy, and Finn McMissile's alright. Yeah, right. He genuinely believes that Mater's a spy and that he's just playing an act as an idiot tow truck as his cover, even after he says not multiple times.
But you know I'm just a tow truck, right?
Right.
Bro, he's not helping you! Damn, wake up!
It creates a very frustrating viewing experience, and can you understand why I don't like the movie?
He's so good.
A small part of me that wanted to end my existence.
And it only serves as another example of how convoluted this movie is. Let's get into that actually. We can't have them realize Mater's not a spy because we had to have him on for silly spy moments, which isn't really that much of an issue because they could still bring Mater along on the basis that he's now a wanted criminal by the Levin cars and that he'd be in danger if they just abandoned him after he realized that he was just a normal civilian. But whatever, let's just make them a bunch of dumbasses instead. And the way Mater gets mistaken for a spy in the first place is even more convoluted. So Bruce Campbell car gets jumped in the bathroom, and then he puts a thing that he meant to give to Finn McMissile on Mater. And he gets kidnapped and then later dies brutally on screen.
Get what you fucking deserve!
But Mater has it now, and Holly sees him walk out of it and just doesn't question anything because, well, he's American. And that's the only thing they know about the spy, which is already pretty stupid. You guys have high-tech cars, you guys didn't know what his face looked like? Okay, whatever. Maybe they just don't know what Bruce Campbell's car looks like. That's why they have this code for identifying if someone's a spy. And it's some basic car fact. So when they ask Mater the question, he answers it right because Mater's a tow truck. He knows stuff like that. And because he answered it correctly, oh, he must be a spy.
That shit! Drop this girl right now!
What? I'm sorry, but doesn't that sound pretty dumb? That your secret password to finding out if someone's a top secret spy is something as basic as a normal car fact? Are you stupid? And you know who else is stupid in Cars 2? This is my attempt at a subtle transition to talking about the villains of the movie. How did I do, guys? I don't like the lemons in Cars 2. I actually don't mind their inclusion on paper. Being a class of cars who aren't as valued and break down often isn't a bad concept, but their plan in the spy plot doesn't make any sense. And Miles Axelrod is a horrible twist villain. He's not threatening at all, he has no chance to actually be a villain, and it's very dumb how he isn't discovered sooner. They tried to decipher his voice, but it's too sophisticated. Really, EA? Really? It's just a deep voice filter, be for real. You can hear his British accent. Also, it's very convoluted that the only photo that we have of him doesn't show his face or body to keep this fuck-ass mystery a secret. And even more convenient that in his meeting with his henchmen, where he has no valid reason to hide his identity, he just doesn't show his face. Bro, you don't need to dress up for this, dog.
Fuck, do you have a shiesty on, bro?
But what really sucks about him is his dumbass plan. I don't know. Maybe I'm too stupid to understand the complexities of this ambitious cinematic masterpiece. He's first introduced as the creator of All in All, as this new alternative fuel, and he hosts the World Grand Prix to showcase it, where the lemon cars can then use the TV camera to cause racers to crash and make All in All look bad, and have people go back to traditional gasoline, so they can be more powerful and evil, I guess. But once you think about this plan just a little bit, it kind of falls apart. Why would you make an alternative fuel just to make it look bad? Yes, I will create alternative fuel so nobody uses alternative fuel. Why even make it at all? I think what they're trying to do is to make people not want to use alternative fuel in general so that the villain cars can stay in power as they view alternative fuel as a risk to their oil business. But that's kind of dumb because first of all, if that's what their goal is, the film doesn't explain that very well. So all of that was just an assumption on my part because we don't learn about or know any other alternative fuel present in this Cars universe. 2, even if there are other alternative fuels in the Cars world, just because one of the brands are bad doesn't mean that there are other safe alternative fuels to use. All in all, was specifically designed to be harmful and was actually just normal gasoline. So other alternative fuels are still safe, so what's stopping people from just using normal alternative fuel? Their plan doesn't accomplish anything. And 3, and this is sort of a nitpick too, but low-key, everybody should already be using alternative fuel because if everybody in this world used gasoline because they're cars, the ozone layer should be on fire by now. So because of all that, I can't find myself enjoying the haha funny spy Cars movie. I mean sure, the opening scene is cool, but that's it. Hype moments and aura. But yeah, that's kind of all my main problems with Cars 2. However, there's one more aspect of the movie I want to talk about. It's not as important, but still one I want to discuss. And it's how this movie kind of fundamentally breaks the rules of the Cars world. This last segment of this video is kind of just all nitpick stuff, but come on, just let me talk about what I want. Because it's really this movie that makes the Cars world and universe so confusing. Let me explain. Everybody's asked, why are the cars in Cars cars? Couldn't they just told the first movie but with humans and cars? Yeah, they could have, but that would have been pretty boring. Aren't anthropomorphic cars more interesting and take more advantage of animation as a medium? So yeah, I'm a cool motherfucker and I don't care. And Cars 3, let's give credit where credit is due, actually does a good job and gives story significance for them being cars, with older cars becoming outdated to newer ones, correlating to McQueen's arc of retirement. And in the original film, the rules of the universe, while not perfect, make enough sense unless you're not thinking about it too much. We don't know the anatomy of the cars, but we overlook it and accept that this is just how the world is. We only see them drink oil like the way we drink water. I got it everywhere. Oh no, I got water over my cool badass jacket. All that makes sense because they're cars. Racing is the most popular sport for them. Sculptures are shaped like car parts. We don't see things that would be unnecessary for a world full of cars to have, like parking lots for example. So if we ignore tiny little nitpicks, like why does this car need a mattress, or how Doc can put things on his wall if he doesn't have hands, you're fine. But then Cars 2 just kind of comes in and throws everything out the window. When we see the other parts of the world, they're literally just like real life locations Pixar made and then threw some car sculptures and called it a day. And they changed the name of some locations to car puns just for good measure. Like Big Ben being called Big Bentley.
Nobody's laughing!
But because of this, there's just a lot of weird inconsistencies. Like we see things like phone booths, gates, sidewalks, and buses. What's the point of having this in a world full of cars? They can't use this stuff. What's their purpose? But then things start to pile up and make you question the greater universe. And I would explain to you what I mean, but the clip already exists.
Have tomatoes in Cars World? I guess they must eat food because they have those giant tongues. But it seems like all they do is just drink gas. Unless gas is their blood. Except Mater mistakes wasabi for ice cream, which means they have ice cream. But the cows in this universe are tractors. So do they milk the tractors? Does your car model determine your species, your class, your ethnicity? Like, do cop cars have to be cops? Or can a race car be a janitor if he wants to? And how are cars born? This car is a mom.
My mama is right here.
Mama! What's the difference between boy and girl cars? Do cars have sex? How? Are headlights boobs? And how do cars die? If they keep replacing their parts, are they immortal? There's a car pope, so is there Catholicism? What kind of car was Jesus? Sarge is a veteran, which means there were car wars. Was he in Car Nam? What kind of car was Hitler? Is the engine the brain or the heart? What's the difference between a doctor and a mechanic? If they open their door, do all their guts fall out? Why do cars even have...
I swear to God, all these questions are raised with Cars 2 specifically. Mater mentions the Pope.
Is the Pope Mobile Catholic?
And we even see him. There's that one car with headlight eyes. What is the car's anatomy? And we see other types of cars like boats and planes. And the lemons are already meant to be a metaphor for discrimination. That must be a big problem in the Cars world. It would be hell living there. But then the airport scene, there's metal detectors in airport security, which implies you know what happened.
They don't hit the Pentagon!
And I know these are all just nitpicks. They don't matter. But I swear to God, they single-handedly make the Cars universe very frustrating and inconsistent, and why I can't take this franchise seriously. And again, why isn't the ozone layer on fire? Well, whatever, I'll just ignore it. There's funny Lightning McQueen in it. In conclusion, I don't like Cars 2. It's not a good movie, no matter what TikTok tries to tell you. And again, if you like Cars 2, that's completely fine. If you enjoy it just because it's a fun movie to watch, all power to you. I still enjoy watching it time to time, except when I actually think about what I'm watching, it makes me mad. But you have to understand that from a critical lens, Cars 2 is just not good. And in my opinion, it's still my pick for the worst Pixar movie. And that take would have been unanimously agreed upon years ago, but nowadays it's heresy. And why is that? You know, besides nostalgia. Well, I think I know the answer. You see, I, like many others, have grown up with Pixar. We've all loved their movies, and their quality has been unmatched, and were some of the first films that we grew up watching. But their recent films haven't been as remembered or beloved as many of their classics. So while Cars 2 might be a bizarre and heavily flawed movie, it's just simply more appealing to people than some of their newer output. For better or worse, Cars 2 is a unique movie and leaves a big impression on people. And I still won't ever like Cars 2, and I think is objectively their worst movie. It's not my least favorite. I'd much rather watch Cars 2 over something like Brave, The Good Dinosaur, or Lightyear. Films that I kinda have no strong opinions on whatsoever. But again, Cars 2 is still objectively their worst movie in my eyes. Cause none of their movies make me as mad and frustrated as Cars 2 does. Lightyear might be a close second though. Because say what you will about Pixar's more forgettable films, at least they have their moments. That one scene that stands out among the rest and has that Pixar magic. Lightyear has that cool scene where he goes into space. Brave has that one scene with the targets. The Good Dinosaur has that one scene with the sticks. Every Pixar movie has that Pixar moment and gives them a purpose for existing. Even the most unnecessary ones like Toy Story 4, which is actually a great movie, but I mean that guy did lose his keys.
Have his keys? What? How? How did you lose your keys?
All their films have a Pixar moment, except for Cars 2. The big emotional scene is stupid. The racing scenes are barely shown. The talk scene lasts a minute and has no impact on the plot. And the opening is just hype moments and aura. Cars 2 has nothing really of worth, except for Francesco Bernoulli, but that makes my point invalid. Cars 2 is a complicated movie for me, and while many might like it, but just because you like it, you shouldn't pretend that it's flawless. Because it's not. And that's all I wanted to discuss about, as I find Cars 2's resurgence to be very interesting. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to read all the hate comments. But hey, what do I know? Holy shit, Fro is pretty hot, so...
This might be a bad time right now, but you owe me $32,000 in legal fees.